Es geht dann um den Gottesnamen, es geht darum, wie der ausgesprochen wird. Und das Ganze ist verbunden auch mit diesem ominosen Namen Baphomet. Und führ uns doch mal dahin, wie dieses Prinzip der Natur mit dem Baphomet und diesen freimaurerischen Ritualen, wie das zusammenhängt.
Ja, der Baphomet ist höchst interessant. Sagen wir mal so. Und die Freimaurerei kann mit Baphomet, also der oder das Baphomet, kann man unterscheiden.
What do the Masons want? And what do? They want to rebuild the temple, which means the body. The body is the temple of the divine. And they are, in fact, destroying and rebuilding their bodies. Freemasonry has invented transgenderism. And most likely, Freemasonry exists since roughly 5,000 years, which was at the beginning of Kali Yuga. Before that, it did not exist. Only the Sanskrit language and the Sanskrit culture existed. Everything else did not exist. Masonry is an inverted art that rebuilds the body wrongly. This means that the Freemasons, they are turning themselves into the opposite sex. The same is true for the Eastern Star and all their appendages. So most likely all these pastors that we are seeing, they are actually women with beards, taking tea or testosterone. And all these starlets are actually men who are being sold out into prostitution. This is what they do. A few people, the most important of which were Jungle Surfer and Krishna Resurrection, also known as Christos Mandylor, have basically uncovered the secret of how to recognize a Mason.
Complicated type of supercomputer that often we as humanity take for granted, but for an understanding of its processes and how they affect us in our daily lives, we turn to psychology for answers. What if I told you that the same tool of understanding was being used against you every day by the mass media? I'm sure even the most astute scholars would not be shocked. Our habitual definition of the reality beyond our own four walls being shaped by the elites is well documented in the mainstream political narrative. But what if this subversion, this perversion of our psyches, is deeper than you could ever imagine? Psychology is an enthralling subject because it can be used to easily predict the nature of human responses to outside stimuli. The elite's investment into experiment-based research has revealed tons of fascinating processes that satiate the sleeping pseudoscientists, but also provides a valuable resource of scientifically backed information to the truly awake, critically thinking mind. A very simple, widely quoted experiment would be the one of Pavlov's dogs, used to prove classical conditioning. He essentially took the neutral stimulus of a bell and connected the dog's salivation response to it by creating a positive association with being fed. Essentially, the bell equals food. This is critically important to the reasoning behind the elite gender inversion. But before we discuss this most important topic, we must discuss a bit more psychology. Religious leaders often recite a quote commonly attributed to Saint Francis Xavier, and it goes like this: "Give me the child until he is 7, and I'll give you the man." What he is really talking about is the idea that if you are conditioned early enough to accept an ideology, it will stick with you until you are an adult. Simple, logical. We hold this belief almost innately in the form of our view of parenthood, or the idea that 2 good eggs will raise another good egg. Life is not always this simple, but it sure follows logic. This demonstrates perfectly the psychological concept of modeling. Sounds simple, but it has 2 separate definitions, both being relatively important. One is used in a counseling setting in which the client implicitly learns by imitation alone, without any specific verbal direction. This is critically important because it is, 1, well researched, and the entire cognitive behavior therapy model holds its foundations in this concept, and 2, it demonstrates that those human models of behavior in our lives can profoundly influence our own behavior without our explicit awareness or consent. I know, you're probably like, "Jon, come on, why are you giving us all of this psychobabble? The plot is head around it." This documentary is about the elite gender inversion.
One of their symbols is the skull and crossbones. From forensics and also from art, we learn that the human body and its 2 sexes have certain proportions that cannot be changed. Even if a person is very long, very thin, very small, or very broad, it does not matter. The proportions or how forensics tell merely on the bone structure if a person is male or female. So we're going to take a look at a few of these markers, what makes a person 46XY chromosome or 46XX, which means female. In fact, there are very few natural men left on this planet. Very few. Men have very long arms. The triangle created by eyes from nose to the mouth is very large. as opposed to the female one. There are multiple very important body markers, which Masonry calls landmarks. For landmarks are very specific things in Masonry. The house that they are building is the body of mankind. And what they are doing is degrading and destroying the human body. Masonry will always subvert and confuse, and that's actually all it does. It has a very specific effect on you if all the persons you see in the television are in inverted gender. And unless you can recognize these body marks, you are susceptible to their manipulation.
Did it happen? Is your jaw on the floor? What am I looking at? Is that Sandra Bullock? Cher? Yes, it did happen. Yes, it is true. You are looking at the Adam's apples of some of the most famous women that you have grown up with, and yes, that is Sandra Bullock. Just breathe. This is quite literally the tiniest step into the science of transvestigation that you could possibly take. Transvestigation, but Jon, what? Transvestigation is the science of using biological gender markers to determine the sex of another person without DNA evidence. These gender markers take shape in the form of the following characteristics in men. Growing an Adam's apple, a wide jaw from the front, and a completely square jaw from the side, square shoulders, brow bossing or the thickening of the brow ridge above the eye, a sloping back forehead, high wide cheekbones, having a tree trunk-like neck and narrow hips with a straight up and down body contour. Did you catch that? The defining characteristics of a man? An Adam's apple. A wide jaw from the front and a completely square jaw from the side. Square shoulders. Brow bossing or the thickening of the brow ridge above the eye. A sloping back forehead, high wide cheekbones, having a tree trunk-like neck, and narrow hips with a straight up and down body contour.
While I have a few disagreements with some of these people who found out these secrets, 99% of what they say I agree with. everything that Freemasonry does destroys natural humans and turns them into their creation. For Masonry seeks to build better men. Have you ever wondered why all these Masons look so weird? They all have very peculiar faces. In fact, they are just women on testosterone. That is what you see there. They also smell wrong. They don't have this musky scent that a man has. And they don't smell like a woman too, because they take testosterone, and a woman on testosterone, it just smells disgusting. There are countless body markers by which you can identify man or woman, natural. These are jaw, brow bone, skull shape, the length of the neck, proportions of shoulders, of arm length, femur or thigh length, and many others, including the length of the torso, which is longer in men, just as the arms are proportionally longer in men than in women. This is why all these weird starlet girls from Hollywood have such extremely long arms and have a silhouette that is basically straight down, because they are men, or rather prepubescent castrated boys with boobs.
This is the typical female face. She has an oval face that comes to a point, narrow cheekbones, absence of brow bossing, narrow jaws, a tiny neck that concaves on the sides, and close-set eyes. Here we have a photo of the typical female profile. Her face comes to a point at the chin. She has a sloping jawbone that rounds at the mandible, proportionally small ears, a forehead contour that runs straight up from the nose bridge and rounds out mid-forehead, and an absence of brow bossing. Here we have a photo of 4 typical women, but I am focusing on the far left and the far right. They both have slanted shoulders, tiny delicate necks, oval faces that come to a point, narrow cheekbones, and hips in proportion to the shoulders themselves. Here we see the female hips. As you can clearly see, the male hips are more vertical and the female hips are wider to birth a child. Here we have a comparison between the female and male anatomy. Females have narrow shoulders, a hip indentation above the navel, proportionally smaller rib cages, fat distribution at the thighs, typically smaller feet, tiny necks that concave on the sides, proportionally smaller shoulders that are slanted, delicate female hands, smaller wrist and ankle joints, smaller knee and shoulder joints. The length from the hip to the knee is longer. The length from the shoulder to hip is shorter. The female on the far right has a widow's peak where the hair comes to a point on the forehead. This is a predominantly female trait. Now, you are probably asking yourself, what? I never knew that there was so much differentiation between the genders other than what's down below the belt, and I am here to say that neither did countless other people until some real research was conducted into the post-pubescent transgendering process and truly discovering how hormones differentiate the sexes. We are going to take a look at the post-pubescent transgendering process, the power of hormones and surgery, and how it is vital for you to understand as well. Here we have the before and after of a post-pubescent transgendered female. As you can tell, she looks dramatically more feminine on the right, and there are very specific reasons for this. She has only had a single surgery from the first picture to the second picture. She has had a forehead recontouring in which they shave down the brow ridge. In the picture on the right, you can see that her eyes are no longer set back in her skull, and that her forehead looks dramatically smoother without the brow ridge. In this single surgery, they brought down her hairline an inch and raised her brows to give more of a feminine arch. Do you see why it is important to understand the transgendering process yet? Here we have another post-pubescent transgendered female. She has had a forehead recontouring, rhinoplasty, chin and jaw recontouring, a lip lift, and an Adam's apple reduction. Again, she looks dramatically more female than she did before, and there are very specific reasons for this. This is the post-pubescent transgendered female from profile. What I want you to notice is that no matter how much jaw contouring you do, you cannot escape the straight back contour from the chin of the male jaw. This one still also has the classical sloping back forehead. As you can see, they could eliminate most of it, but it still remains. When you see a true biological female next to these plastic surgery creations, the stark contrast in facial characteristics just jumps out at you. Are you transvestigating yet? Can you see the differences between the left and the right? Do you need me to put them on the screen? This is how every transvestigator has started in their journey of truth on the actual gender differences. Is the checklist resonating in your head? Narrow cheekbones, pointed chin. She was the last surviving publicly lauded castrato, taking his last analysis that is linked to in the description. This has been proven to be quite clear. Transvestigation is a science that is first technical and second visual. I will first explain each aspect of gender differentiation and then then allow the pictures to speak for themselves, chiming in when necessary. Please get through this part of the video as it is the most important so far. Every person featured in this documentary has a full facial and body analysis that is linked to in the description. Oh, yeah, remember all of that psychology we learned earlier? Keep all of it in mind because things are going to get quite technical in a moment. The Adam's apple is probably the most readily recognized gender marker of them all and is the enlarged laryngeal tissue of a male. The reason why so many elite transgenders do not have an Adam's apple is because it typically develops after a full male puberty. These elites suppress that puberty by castration, chemical or surgical, and give exogenous estrogen in order to maintain the prepubescent male characteristics that merge with female sex characteristics to create the ultimate in-between. The male jaw is different from the female jaw in a couple extremely apparent ways. The male jaw is far larger than the female jaw, manifesting in the extreme width from the front. From the side, the male jaw is completely square, the bone going straight back from the chin to the back of the mandible, where an almost 90-degree angle forms. In a true female jaw, the bone typically slopes from the chin to the back of the mandible, creating a soft, round profile, and finally rounding up at the back of the mandible. Do you notice the high, wide cheekbones? Do you notice how far back the hairline is and the lack of the widow's peak? The flatness of the chin, the square face, notice that the point of the chin does not fall in line with the jaw, indicating surgical implant. Do you notice the size of the ears in proportion to the head? Again, look at the point of that chin. Typically, do you notice the completely square shoulders? The sloping back forehead is another predominantly male trait that can be seen in prepubescence, but is personified in a fully post-pubescent male. The male forehead typically slopes back from right above the brow ridge, while the female forehead is typically straight up from the nose bridge and starts gradually rounding out in the middle of the forehead. In the elite transgenders, we see the typical male facial structure where the nose bridge dips in and then creates a slight bump at the brow ridge and recedes backwards, starting at the brow ridge. Remember that the sloping back of the forehead starts right at the brow ridge in males. Do you notice the completely square jaw? The male neck is also one of the easiest signs to see when it comes to a transgendered elite. Women tend to have necks that concave in the middle and get wider at the bottom, while men have a large tree trunk-like straight neck. This is a trait where pictures speak 1,000 words. It's kind of difficult to not notice the Adam's apple on this one. Marilyn Monroe was confirmed to have a chin implant. Female hips are one of the most recognizable and beautiful aspects of a natural woman. Women have wider hips for carrying children, where the navel tends to actually sit below the hip indentation on the torso. Men typically have quite narrow hips with a straight up and down body contour and a navel that sits below the waist indentation. In real females, the shoulders tend to fall in line with the hips. Do you notice how large the heads are on some of these elite? Looks like a couple ribs are missing on that rib cage. As transvestigations have been produced, another aspect that usually outs an elite transgender is rib removal. The rib removal creates an artificial waist, but at the same time reveals the artificiality of the proportions because the shoulders become far too wide. chair was rumored to have ribs removed, and her gender was publicly questioned when she began her career. Marilyn Monroe was also rumored to have ribs removed, and you can clearly see the scar in this picture, and also you can clearly see the body frame of a man. These are the before and afters of 2 chin implant surgeries. Notice how dramatically it changes the silhouette of the face, but how subtle the effect really is. Here we have the before and afters of 4 hip implant surgeries. They will never pass as the true hips of a woman, only a false Hollywood-sold fantasy inversion. Some of you will ask about the voices of these elite transgenders and why they are feminine sounding. Have you ever really considered the idea that what you are hearing is just a prepubescent male voice all grown up without a puberty? No? I will show you a clip of what is possible with surgery. Notice how it is a science in and of its own, but remember that if someone has been castrated in prepubescence, they will maintain the pitch of their prepubescent voice. The elite know exactly how this works.
So, before I started testosterone, I did so much research online. It was borderline obsessive. What can happen on testosterone? And still, when I started, these changes happened that I wasn't quite expecting, or I wasn't expecting them to happen to the extent at which they did. So I thought now, just over 4.5 years on T, I would have a look back and talk about the changes that weren't really talked about. So the things that I wasn't told about before starting T. Number 1, hair sprouting in some really strange places. From my toes to my shoulders. I mean, look at this. Look. You're probably not going to be able to see, actually. That was a waste of time. Yes, even my butt crack is now home to a small forest. Hair has just sprouted everywhere and anywhere it can think of. I mean, I expected to have places like my chest and my face that I was looking forward to it being on my face. Nail trail, leg hair, that kind of thing. But I wasn't expecting it in these kind of less typical, slightly grosser places. I mean, I even have hair on my elbow now. Number 2, receding hairline and like just thinning head hair, you know, all that new hair that's come up on your body. Yeah, well, it's fallen from your head. I'm convinced just every new hair I get, like on my chest, is just a fallen head hair. I knew T could cause a receding hairline. It's just been somewhat terrifying to watch it happen over the years. Yes, cross your fingers for me that it just stops falling out and it stays as it is now. I'm really obsessed with losing my hair. Number 3. Being smelly and smelling different from pee to sweat. Bit gross, I know, I'm sorry. I knew testosterone could cause certain like odour changes in some departments, but I didn't quite expect it to be as noticeable as it was, and quite frankly, smelly. I'm sorry for the TMI, but I really am convinced I go through twice as much deodorant now as I used to. Number 4. Spots occurring in numerous quantity and just as weird places as the new hair. I swear that like each new hair and spot come as a couple, so I have lots of little like spot hair weddings all over my body. The back spots are terrible. I'm really sorry if some of the things in this video are a bit gross and you're learning new things about me.
Because it all starts with sex, doesn't it? Life itself starts with sex. So the mystical force of the true God of Freemasonry hides in the hidden part of the human body. That's the Holy of Holies, covered by the Masonic apron, the seat of God. the seat of Lucifer. See here with Satanist King Diamond's artwork. The eye is attached to the horn god, but look at where the eye starts, from the waist down. That's where the apron of a Mason begins. And the one eye of Freemasonry is also the one eye of the penis, where life generates and springs forth. See the openly hidden secret of the Masonic square and compass now? You're looking at the sex act. That's the female in missionary position, and that's the male mounting her. The sex act. And the eye in the middle, with these emanating rays, is the orgasm and the ejaculation of the penis. See life shooting forth. That's how they see the sun and the earth too. The sun is the visible penis of their true God, shooting forth life continually. The light itself is the mystical sperm of the God of this world. The sun and penis generate life, while the earth and female womb produce life. The letter G, when replacing the I in the middle of the square and compass, stands for generation, sexual generation. The practical aspect of Freemasonry and Satanism's religion is that of a sex cult. You see Rod Stewart telling you he's a Freemason by displaying the hidden hand of Freemasonry, also known as the Master of the Second Veil, and look at his other hand, taking the Masonic apron's place for covering his penis, which is the Holy of Holies, the seat of God for the Mason. And from the Grand Pontiff of Freemasonry, Albert Pike, hence the significancy of the phallus, the penis, or of its inoffensive substitute, the obelisk. Straight from the horse's mouth, the erect penis graces us, or should I say disgraces us, with its presence in every country in the world, marking its territory. The Masonic obelisk in our face, everywhere, making its bold statement, yelling, screaming in silence. This is another reason why we're considered the ignorant and stupid masses. Another example of hidden in plain sight. And here's an erect penis on the front page of the female Freemasonry magazine, The Eastern Star. I once stood in front of this obelisk in Sydney, and I must have asked 30 people what they thought it was. Not a single one of them knew. To the Freemasons of the higher degrees, the whole universe is in fact one giant and continuous sex act. This is the structure of Freemasonry. You can take this path to the top or this path. And way up here, you have the Order of the Mystic Shrine. The Mystic Shrine is what's found behind the Masonic apron, because that's where life comes from. That's the Mystic Shrine. You have to be a 32nd degree Freemason to be asked to join the Order of the Mystic Shrine. And then, once you're inside, you can be invited to join this order, the Royal Order of Jesters. See, Freemasonry is like Russian dolls, and Satanism is at its center. Look at some of the pins and lapel designs for the Order of the Jesters. You can only join them unless you're at least a 32nd degree Freemason. Sex and debauchery. Erections. The adoration of the phallus. Masturbation. Devils. Demons. Fallen angels. This one here, mocking holiness, reference to the anus, and sodomy, anything to mock the Bible. This disgusting one has King Momus sitting on a female's face, and hidden in plain sight is the square and the compass, for those who have eyes to see. Bestiality, yes indeed. This bagpipe player has an erection, and the sheep is running away scared. Self-explanatory. This character has an emphasized eye, if you can see that, and the skull has an emphasized eye also. The wink and the one eye of the Indian. And the secrecy, the symbols of secrecy. On the far right here, the monkey covers his groin area, symbolizing the Masonic apron, and the black and white dogs, well, they symbolize the checkered floorboard of the Masonic Lodge, which is sexualized male and female principles, the horned god, where evil and good don't exist. And in the first degree, Masons are given a Bible stamped with a square and compass, oblivious to the inherent mockery and the foundation of the whole fraternity, as alluded to here with a genuine Royal Order of Jesters private lapel. This is a certificate that a jester receives after his initiation, and you see here their patron is named King Momus, and he was a god, or a daemon, which is a variant of the word demon, who was expelled from heaven, as the legend goes. Sounds just like Lucifer, because it is. Did Freemasonry disassociate themselves from the tax-exempt branch of Freemasonry known as the Jesters? Well, no, they didn't, because, I mean, this is rare footage of an event within the lodge. Now, I'm sorry about the quality of this, but this is a Masonic lodge. So for Masons that want to say that the Jesters are contrary to Masonry, well, look at these dirty old men, masters of the lodge, with sublime morals, all married, probably all have daughters and granddaughters, yet still this inside the lodge. But for you it should be obvious, because you can see the square and compass, the sex act, and the all-seeing eye right in the middle. I told you that Satanism was the oldest religion in the world, and it is. The sex act was ritualized and organized as a religion before we called it Satanism. But Satan has always been the god, the horny god, the horned god of these sex cults. All of them, from Samaria to Egypt to Greece and so on, that's called paganism. And the real Bible of the Freemasons and the pagans, the one not written by hand, the one that's older than any book, the one that supersedes all the rest in age, thus making it the purest and most unadulterated word of God in the eyes of the Freemasons, is nature. Nature is their Bible. And before you think there's nothing wrong with that, wait a second, because you're not thinking straight. Ask a Mason, whether he be a first degree or a 33rd degree, what is Freemasonry? And the universal go-to answer is this: a peculiar system of morality, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. Now, why would you need to veil your morals? Because in their peculiar system, evil is good and good is evil. That's Satanism 101. A peculiar system of morals. That should tell you something. That should tell you everything. Why would your morals need to be a secret? Because their deeds are in fact evil. Glorifying the laws of nature, where cruelty and self-obsession are virtuous characteristics. That's nature. Nature is as cruel as she is kind. The checkered floorboard, where everything is legal. It's Christianity that lives in reverse. The first shall be last. Love your enemies. The meek shall inherit the earth. These are unholy and unnatural concepts in the eyes of visible nature, the nature of Freemasonry, which is Satanism. What the Freemasons really mean by this morality veiled in allegory is that they're allowed to steal because nature allows it. They're allowed to kill because nature allows it. Here is a ritual that Scott and every Freemason from this guy to this girl have performed. There is one Masonic apron you'll never see being worn. This one. And when I bumped into it, I thought it was a fake. Until I found this in Richardson's Monitor of Freemasonry, official Masonic literature, written for Masons only. On this page, what is that head doing there? You'll find out in a sec. Let's read the description of the apron worn in this degree. Speaking of the initiates, it states, they wear white aprons sprinkled with blood red and lined and bordered with black. On the flap of the apron, a bloody arm holding a dagger, and on the apron, a bloody arm holding a bloody head by the hair. Now this is why there's an illustration of a decapitated head. And this is going to become to a bone-chilling conclusion. So during this ritual, the candidate removes the blindfold and discovers a basin of water with a tumbler beside it. He is also astonished to find a human head lying on the floor. The master of ceremonies returns and directs the candidate to take up the knife in his right hand and the head in his left. Yes, this pope, this rock star, this pop star, this actor, this actress, and this beloved Prime Minister. This is what they've done. All of them, hands down. And you thought all you needed to be is talented to succeed? No, you need to belong to the secret society called Freemasonry. And believe me, when you belong to them, you belong to them. Now you tell me, can these people end up believing in Lucifer? Is that really a stretch? Carrying around a bloody head? Swearing to have your brain cooked, tongue torn out from the roots if you ever reveal anything? No, the stretch is that you think they couldn't believe in Lucifer. That's the stretch. Lucifer, the one who sets you free, remember, from sin by sinning. Can you now see the bloody spirit of Freemasonry lurking behind the veneer of charity and the veneer of Christianity? Because Scott Morrison goes to church, apparently. The Pope is a Christian, apparently. But look at these people. So-called Christians, or Christians, gathered around a giant erect phallus in the middle of the Catholic square. This is Freemasonry, the demolition of morals, the creation of hypocrisy, and the demolition of true virtue. These minds are directing the future. Now, to be fair, I don't know if these heads are real heads. I never got that far to find out. But I will tell you this. All the skulls they use they're real. All the skeletons they use they're real. And they run every single noteworthy funeral home in Australia and the world. I know that personally and for a fact. Once again, you are only seeing the tip of the iceberg because I can't bring myself to tell you about what I really know of the rituals that come after the 33rd degree Freemasonry. For as much as they celebrate life in various grotesque ways, they also celebrate death in ritual form, which are the things I can't speak of to you. They have to celebrate death in order to prove that they can see things through the all-seeing eye, the one that sees above evil and above good, the checkered floorboard where things kill each other to live, where life is cruel, where morals are broad. There is no sin. There is only nature. See, these Masonic rituals are designed to desensitize the candidate further and further in preparation for the raw truth of Satanism, the truth which is plainly stated by the Grand Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry. Lucifer is the light bearer, and that you should doubt it not, from their own literature and from their own mouths. Until finally the candidate's introduction into the royal art of Freemasonry, witchcraft, the ancient craft. Why do you think that witchcraft has disappeared? It never disappeared. It was hidden, forced to go into hiding by the appearance of Jesus on the human scene. Another reason why he's passionately hated, and soon him and his ways will be done away with in this new world, and so will your rights. You still don't believe me? You're still doubting all the evidence, like the Freemasons are counting on you to doubt? Well, remember from the Encyclopedia of American Religions, the continuing impact of speculative, modern Freemasonry provided fertile soil in which new magical orders could grow. Watch this 2-minute clip. I can vouch for every single thing you hear come from the former Masons' mouths.
In the initiation in Freemasonry, we had to be recommended by another Mason. Well, in order to join witchcraft, you have to be first screened. You have to be recommended by somebody currently in witchcraft.
Well, when I was initiated, I was blindfolded and bound by a rope, and on your bare chest was thrust the point of a spear.
In witchcraft, we were initiated through a very involved ritual, initiation ceremony, wherein the candidate was led blindfolded, bound by a rope to the edge of the magic circle.
And the rope is around your neck and you're led forward. And up front, at the eastern end of the building, is a person who's a worshipful master. And you kneel down before him as if he were a god.
You were met by the high priest or high priestess at that time, usually with a sword to your chest.
When I went to enter the lodge, a sharp object was put to my left breast. And I was warned that should I reveal any of the secrets of Freemasonry, to know what to expect.
When you're presented before the high priest, a sword is held against your chest, and you actually take a blood oath, promising to remain faithful to the secrets of witchcraft.
Well, when you are in the room, this blindfold is taken away from you, and this is a time when they say that you're coming from darkness into light.
During the initiation ceremony, the initiate is led by the lieutenant of the high priest and is challenged at the edge of the circle by someone saying, "Who goes there?" And the answer is, "One from the world of darkness."
In Masonry, the prayers are ended with "So mote it be."
Oh, and one of the other aspects of, or distinctives of the craft was that we would always end any spell or ritual where we released the power, this is where the power was released, with the word "So mote it be."
Can you see the hidden hatred that pulses through its veins? If they believe in "do what thou wilt," what do you think they will do to you? And what do you think they'll do in order to build this new world? This is from a commentary on his book of the law. The Beast 666 adviseth that all children should be accustomed from infancy to witness every type of sexual act. Do what thou wilt. And what about the royal art of Freemasonry? Magic is the highest, most absolute, and most divine knowledge of natural philosophy. What a statement. The highest, most absolute and divine. Well, let's have a closer look into some of the more hidden secrets of the most divine natural philosophy known as magic. Any living being is a storehouse of energy, varying in quantity according to the size and health of the animal. At the death of the animal, this energy is liberated suddenly. The animal, therefore, should be killed within the circle, within the magic circle, so that energy that's released can be captured and directed to serve the will of the witch, male or female. This is a science, a hidden science. But now hear this, coming from a 33rd degree Freemason, and don't you forget that. For the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force, a male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most suitable sacrifice. Can you see? This is who Jay-Z is quoting on his top. This is who this Jonas brother holds in high esteem. This is who the Beatles have on their front cover as a figure they admire. No worse, they put at the top. This is the same picture of the front cover in a mirrored form, and after some kaleidoscoping, you'll find this. Fellow Freemason Aleister Crowley sits at the top, and down the bottom there even appears the phallus with the testicles, and up here the vesica Pisces, also known as the vagina. Does this picture make more sense now? All Freemasons, yes indeed. And by the way, that's where Jay-Z got his symbol from Satanism, as portrayed here by Satanist and Freemason Aleister Crowley and by Satanic Church founder Anton LaVey. Does anyone still think that Freemasonry isn't Satanism in disguise? Let's finally take a peek into the royal art of Freemasonry. And this is the briefest way I can show you from the complete book of magic and witchcraft. This is a practitioner's manual, not from some bogus author trying to expose witchcraft. Just so you can get it through your head that this is real. and this is protected. The writer or compiler of this God-forsaken book warns the reader that the recipes may seem disgusting, that the knowledge revealed has been forbidden, and has caused suffering and death to witches and the victims of witches. You don't think witchcraft was a serious menace in times past and present? Come with me, and I'll show you how bad this menace actually gets, as the world's most powerful and secret religion moves ever closer to fulfilling its biblical destiny, and it will. Close your eyes or not, it will fulfill its destiny. Firstly, let's connect this sick art straight to modern Freemasonry with the word abracadabra, both written in triangular form, from the Manual of Witchcraft and from the Encyclopedia of the Secret Society that your Prime Minister belongs to. And just like high-ranking Freemasons, male and female witches also drink out of a human skull. But here the practitioner drinks wine, in which they first dissolve or boil the brains or heart of an animal, before consuming it all from the human skull. In this ritual, the initiate is instructed to drink in the night at spring water, out of a skull of one that hath been slain. That's right, out of the skull of a human who's been murdered or sacrificed. Otherwise, eat a pig with a knife that slew a man. Please don't turn away. Look straight ahead and open your eyes to the planet you are on, because the real monster under your bed doesn't actually go away when you close your eyes. In other rituals of the craft, you burn a rooster while he's alive. With the use of a poisonous plant used in ointments and potions of witches, you can assure death and destruction on a victim. You want to make a female enemy sterile, or a male enemy impotent for the rest of his life? Otherwise, you can just kill them. The hand of glory is the severed hand that is dried and preserved to be used in black magic. Yes, a dead human hand. A black circle is most effective for operations of evil. The use of blood and sex in ritual was considered helpful for obtaining the necessary energy to successfully work magic or achieve mystical insight. But here's where the darkness thickens even further. Animals such as black cats or children may be sacrificed, and participants may drink the blood of the sacrifice. And just so you know that Stanley Kubrick wasn't joking, an orgy of participants sometimes follows the mass. No remorse, just science, the science of witchcraft, the royal art. And here, what's necessary for the working is the fat of young children, dead children. How many children do you think go missing in Australia every year? That's how many. And what about the world? Is it 1 million? Well, according to the International Centre for Missing and Exploited Children, it's 8 million children per year. Do you think that the highest, most absolute, and most divine knowledge of natural philosophy has anything to do with that? Any chance of an international secret system that is bolstered by initiations and degrees, and bound under the most brutal penalties that the human mind can ever devise? Do you think that has any involvement? Any chance of that? Am I saying that this Freemason has sacrificed children? No, I never said that. But did he ever even remotely mention the secret societies? Did he ever try to warn you? Educate you? No, he was under oath. Am I saying that these Freemasons have sacrificed children? No, I never said that either. But have they ever warned you about the secret society that believes that Lucifer is the savior? The society functioning right under your nose, that secret society? No, not a chance. Julia Gillard admitted she belonged to one, but that's about it because they're all under oath. So where does this ancient craft originate from? It originates from the spirit realm, from spirit beings. That's who taught mankind the royal art before civilization began. In this chapter, The Rites of Satanism and Witchcraft, the manual explains that a typical satanic Sabbath was, number one, a homage to the devil, usually performed as the osculum infami, also known as the kiss of shame, which is so shameful that we'll just put it this way. The ritual involves kissing the hindquarters of the devil, the rear, Surely this is far removed from anything to do with Freemasonry. People, the original order of the Knights Templar were found guilty of this very same obscene ritual. And where do you find the modern variant of the Knights Templars of today? I told you, in the highest degree of Freemasonry, right here. Here's a couple of them now. And what's on this Templar's head? From the Masonic Encyclopedia, remember? A symbol of the Baphomet, according to 33rd degree Aleister Crowley. And we can confirm that in the Satanic Bible. That's exactly what's hiding deep inside of Freemasonry. I'm only showing you this to show you the reality of Satanism and the demonic realm, the world you can't see.
On this earth, and in this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
Look here. The hierarchy of demons occupies a more important place in both black and white magic rituals. Both black and white. This is where the power of witchcraft comes from. And this is the reason these bizarre rituals actually function and actually work. Because after the ritual is performed on earth, its effects are carried out to their conclusion in the spirit realm by spiritual beings or demons, actual demons. The reality that is hidden from you. Because if you found out that Satan was real, then that would have to make Jesus Christ real too. And he is the one they hate. And if Jesus Christ is real, that changes everything. And this is how much they hate him. The prayer that Jesus taught his disciples is performed backwards. The high priest is sometimes naked. A prostitute assists him, and a naked virgin, who may later be deflowered, is the altar. Everything that is sacred is defiled, and everything that is filthy is honored as pure. Because of their burning hatred of Jesus Christ, just as he's hated by the fallen angels that they worship. It gets worse when you hear what they use as a substitute for the bread that Jesus broke and told his disciples to eat in remembrance of him. A wafer which initiates me with this, this, and this. Or the name of Satan may be written upon it. And this isn't even witchcraft. This is just a ceremony announcing who they love and who they hate. So is Satan real? It continues to state in the hierarchy of demons at the very top, Satanakia, whose title is the Commander-in-Chief. What did Bob Dylan, the Freemason, call the one he made a bargain with?
Should I ask who you made the bargain with? with the chief commander.
Same title, Commander-in-Chief, Chief Commander. Are you following? But watch this. In case the darkness is getting a little too thick and encompassing for you, let's shine a little light. The true light that only the Gospels can supply. Speaking to us humans and revealing something about Satan, the Gospels state, you follow the spirit of the age in this world system as dominated by the commander of the spiritual powers of the air. Satan, the god of this world, the commander. You still think the Gospels are wrong or fake? See, Satanists know that the spirits also live in the air, just as the Gospels reveal. You can summon any of these demonic spirits by name if you possess the royal art. Who do you think this figure on the front cover represents? A magician who is inadequately prepared and cannot attain his desires may seek the aid of Satan. That's who this is. Now that you know, hopefully for a fact, that these are people at the top of the human food chain. Do you think they'd be fooling around with stupid fairy tales? No, witchcraft and Satanism is absolutely real, hence their earthly power. This demon here, fifth in the pyramid structure, holds the title of Inspector General. And what's the title of the highest degree in Freemasonry, who exists in every local lodge in every suburb, a suburb near you? Inspector General. Same title as the living demon. Do you believe me now? You can even conjure Lucifer himself, or be Beelzebub, who the Gospels call the Prince of the Devils. Both of whom are listed as superior spirits in this book of witchcraft and magic. I can show you so much more from this disgusting book, but I'll cut it off here with the seal of Saturn, a demonic sigil from the complete book of magic and witchcraft. And this is his seal. Can you see? Do you see? This is the society that lives amongst you, above you. The one-eyed religion of Freemasonry, hidden right in front of those who have their eyes wide shut. I'm going to now show you what that world that they are building from the ashes of the one you're currently living in looks like. But lastly, to drive this business of blood sacrifice home, here's American rapper Azealia Banks with the 666 hand sign, and now over the all-seeing eye in her video, the eye in the triangle of the Freemasons on her shirt, and the devil's horns, her liberator, her master, her commander. And now displaying the secret society vow of silence. Along with that, the last brief glimpse into the highly concealed royal art of Freemasonry.
The amount of crap that's about to come off my floor right now, guys. Oh my god. 3 years worth of brujeria. Yes, you know I gotta scrape all this shit up.
And what does brujeria mean? You know what it means. Witchcraft. Azealia Banks, the witch, with her eye in the triangle shirt, and the logo of, for example, the Grand Lodge of Freemasonry in Spain. One and the same symbol. The logo of the Fraternity of the Freemasons and the logo of this Church of Lucifer. The one eye. One and the same symbol. Freemasonry has deceived you. Yes, people, now you know how Satanism has functioned out of sight and out of mind. You still think there's no such thing as witchcraft? Or that it only existed in the olden days? You still think that blood isn't a part of the royal art? You still think that local Masonic lodges of the world are not filtering systems for Satanists and a cloak for organized Satanism with a grand master plan for the world? You think there's nothing to the blood sacrifice of Jesus Christ? After seeing all this and the Azealia Banks clip, and after realizing that there exists a hidden and guarded science of the art of blood sacrifice, you think there was no science behind Jesus' crucifixion, a deeper reality that we can't see or understand? You think Jesus didn't know what he was doing? Or are you one of those who still think he didn't exist? Tell me, how can they hate something that doesn't exist? If only you could hear from some other Freemasons who have the courage to break their oaths. But you won't. You won't. This is probably it. But I once heard from a Freemason, an honest one, in about 2016, after I posted this picture on Facebook. He knew. He knew the truth. Just like you do now, or just like you should. And he wrote to me. And he said, by the time we are done, every church will be a brothel. Well, in case you think that that's impossible, this is a fashion show that was held in a church, a real church, and it was organized by high-ranking Freemasons, who you will see now to be Satanists. Designed to be a heart-wrenching mockery and a colossal sign of the times, this event. Just so you know, it's a Masonic production. Here's the inside of a lodge. See those twin pillars? Well, here they are. See the Masonic checkered floorboard? Well, there it is. See the Masonic square and compass? Well, there it is. And do you see the eye of Freemasonry? Yeah, there they are. The lower square in the square and compass has been disfigured so that as to not make it too obvious. But now that we've established that, here is the spirit of Freemasonry, as displayed through just a few of the models. This one wears the horns of the Baphomet, the horns of Satan, with his all-seeing eye in the background. More horns. This model wears the all-seeing eye, as does this one. and this disgusting thing with another huge all-seeing eye of Lucifer in the background. Then there's this, with a satanic pentagram on her face. And finally, this male model in a skirt with 2 satanic inverted crosses of Jesus Christ on his top in a church. Oh, the morbid victory of the Freemasons. Unstoppable. For now. When people like Lady Gaga cover one eye while wearing an inverted cross, and you don't see the connection of the one eye symbolism to Satanism, then your observational skills have been compromised. In the span of 2 days, I saw these ads in my local shopping centre. And that alone tells me that the satanic age is here, manifesting all around us, seemingly invisible, while you look straight ahead through the symbols. Just like the initiation process of the secret societies themselves, society at large must be incrementally introduced and seduced into further depravity and self-love. And haven't we been slowly but surely perverted over time, degree by degree, until we think that men dressing as women is beautiful and healthy, anal sex is a form of expressing love, the sick world of pornography is considered as liberating for women and men, and protected by free speech. In California, babies are allowed to be aborted after birth because it's a woman's choice, and that's not considered murder. A world where we should applaud young children like Desmond is amazing, cross-dressing while he dances for gay men at a gay bar on a podium because he's paving the way for the kids of the future. And we should get shamed, fined, and even jailed if we point out that this is sick, sinful, and dare call it evil, which is what it is. What spirit is behind Desmond is amazing? Oh yeah, an evil spirit, no doubt about it. You think Freemasonry and their peculiar morals aren't behind the decline of Christian morality and morality worldwide? It's all by design. The Masonic war on Jesus and the Christian social structure, generally undetected by human perceptions, and still people will write to me and comment on how absurd what I've said is. A cloud over the eyes of their heart. Well, I tell you this, there is no bigger axe that has ever been grinded than the one Freemasonry grinds. Because the appearance of Jesus Christ pretty much destroyed their religion, drove it underground, and they will have their revenge. Soon you're going to see it. We've all been initiated into the lowest levels of materialistic Satanism under the banner of secular humanism. I know blokes who think that life's great, mate. Life's terrific. Life's what you make it. Evil, Lucifer, Satan, these are just words that Christians invented to help them sleep better at night. There are no cults. There are no conspiracies. John F. Kennedy's speech about secret societies plotting against the world, that's not relevant anymore. That's history. There's no such thing as Satanism amongst civilized people. Oh, children, when darkness comes to your door, takes your wife, takes your health, your job, your home, your freedom, your children, then you call out, oh my God, this is evil. Why is this happening to me? Well, here comes the darkness. Here comes the evil. You want to know what the New World Order looks like? You want to know what the future holds? You want to know what horror is coming to our planet? As Jesus told us, for then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Masonic New World Order. These are the mysterious Georgia Guidestones, also known as the American Stonehenge. They are a set of granite monoliths which were constructed in 1980 and funded by an unknown and anonymous group and commissioned by a man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian. On a ledger beside the monument is written, "Let these be guidestones to an age of reason." Here we have a reference to a new age. With this, we get a clue as to the spirit behind the structure. The Age of Reason happens to be the title of a book by Thomas Paine. Now, you can colour him any which way you want to, but whichever way, one glaring colour shines through. Thomas was a hater of Christianity. That's the second clue to the spirit behind the Georgia Guidestones. The third is the fact that the Guidestones feature as what could be seen as a replacement to the Ten Commandments of the Christian God with the new Ten Commandments of the New Age. Because I will not steal, cheat, lie, kill, and so on. They're just, well, too narrow for the New Age, for the Age of Reason. Clearly designed to be a take on the biblical commandments, being 10 in number. They are all very vague indeed. But anyone can ascertain the horror that must first take place before this New Age can begin by looking at the first guideline. Because this one's not vague at all. Maintain humanity at under 500 million. That's right, a reduction of at least 7 billion human beings would be necessary for that. This thing cost the equivalent of $500,000 US to build, and the street it's located on is named after it, so that tells you how much reach its creators had. Its presence alone is a disgrace and a declaration of execution to most living people alive today. But let's go on to the fourth clue, as to the spirit behind these monuments. The monuments outlining the Age of Reason. The name R.C. Christian, the so-called person who commissioned the building of these giant slabs, anyone who's versed in secret societies or is a high-ranking member themselves would instantly recognize the pseudonym as a reference to the secret society known as the Rosicrucians, which is just another secret society branch that exists under the umbrella of Freemasonry, which is an extension of all secret societies of the past and is now the mother of all of them. In this Masonic website, Worshipful Master Win Westcott urges the Freemasons to consider their status as Rosicrucians. The RC stands for Rosenkreuz. Christian Rosenkreuz is the mythical founder of the Rosicrucian order. And as impossible as it is for me to prove that Thomas Paine himself, the writer of Age of Reason, was a Freemason, he did also write this book, The Origin of Freemasonry. That is the spirit behind the Georgia Guidestones, the satanic spirit, and a straight off the bat view of this approaching New Age. I told you, the whole system is about to change, and it's not going into the future. It's actually going back into the past. The old religion, that's what's taking everything over. And you'll walk straight into it, blind as a bat, thinking these people want to help you. They will appear as your saviors, forgetting or never being told in the first place that all this time there have been two societies in the world. The visible one, which is the one we're in, and the invisible one. Remember that the invisible one considers you profane, vile, and vulgar. Why on earth would they want to keep you around? In a book I can't mention written by them, people are referred to as useless eaters. We've become excess inventory, redundant, and past our use-by date in their eyes. Think about this. According to a prediction by information technology and research advisory firm Gartner, 1/3 of jobs will be replaced by software, robots, and smart machines by 2025. That's 4 years away. Google engineering director Ray Kurzweil anticipates that robots will have reached human-level intelligence by 2029. And by 2050, 80% of all jobs will be eliminated by automation. What on earth are you and your family good for then? What do you think the secret society will do to the vile multitude then? The utopia is coming, but it ain't your utopia. You still think that by the measure of the minds of international Satanism, you should be kept around? This excess baggage that the bulk of society has become? No. The new age is dawning. And generally speaking, you're not invited. It'll just look like you are. Remember that Charles Darwin, the Freemason, is listed as an influential figure in the Satanic Church. So mass murder and mass death are natural and necessary themes in the name of evolution, an artificially induced evolution into this. Here's the same image in real life in Eilat, Israel, seemingly unrelated to the seal on the US dollar bill, right? But standing in glory with a Masonic square and compass, telling you exactly who owns this pyramidal symbol, complete with the one eye on top. Same symbol, same designers, worshipping the same God. You should be getting goosebumps by now. Is this a conspiracy led by international Freemasonry? Oh, you don't have to bet your life on it, because your life has already been placed as a bet on your behalf and without your knowledge, but with your permission, because all of the information is hidden in plain sight. In your face is where it's hidden. You're going to lose this battle unless you've been hidden in Jesus Christ, the only one who warned you that the New Age is a trap and that it is the climax to this epic drama being played out on planet Earth. Now hang on, brace yourself, because I ain't going to let you down. Doing yourself. As we moved closer and closer to the well-planned for and long-awaited invocation of the Prime Minister unto the very King of Hell, the Grand Vicar of Lord Lucifer. Yes, the very well-planned for and very long-awaited indeed. Do you see what's coming? Mr. Hyde also enlightens us in the fact that opposites do not exist apart from the mind. Evil and good are all in your head. That's why you should brace yourself, because these are the minds creating the New World System. He confirms this. The New Age will require new men, men of high consciousness and fortitude. All of our present dogma models will crumble. He means the Christian and the Christian social structure will crumble. In the introduction to the book, another PhD, Robert Anton Wilson, tells you what the New Age really thinks of the Christian social structure, which you have more or less enjoyed your whole life, Christian or not. Christianity and democracy have been among the worst disasters to ever befall the human race. I told you, atheists, you're going to miss Christianity when it's gone. Here's a picture of Robert with the Masonic eye in the triangle on the wall behind him. Remember where the term New Age came from. So once again, do you think that the new system, the New Age, is going to be democratic, a system that respects you or gives a damn about what you think once it's in place? Let me answer it this way. Christopher Hyde quotes from one of his literary heroes and famed philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, who said, "What is more harmful than any vice? Active sympathy for the ill-constituted and weak. Christianity." So to be a Christian and to actively have sympathy for the weak, that's the worst vice. That's backward and evil. So the answer's no. This is what I'm warning you about. And look, Frederick's work has exerted a profound influence on modern history. That's from Wikipedia. You know what else Frederick said? You probably won't find this on Wikipedia. The domestic animal, the herd animal, the sick animal man. That's the Christian. And what book of Friedrich Nietzsche were these quotes pulled from? The Antichrist. Nietzsche also wrote Beyond Good and Evil. That's how the all-seeing eye sees things, remember? So does Christopher Hyde mention mass murder and depopulation in his book? Sure, here you go. Those who would survive can do so only by grasping the vision of what lies ahead. The new wave that will carry them into an interesting future. Yeah, where the Vicar of Lucifer is God and Prime Minister. He openly admits the identity of this man. This Antichrist that most of you still think is a fairy tale figure from a fairy tale book. Jesus calls him the man of sin whose number is 666. The actual Antichrist, beloved of the secret societies. Yes, people, the New Age is satanic. Actually, And literally, on the front cover of this book, in which Christopher was co-writer, you can clearly see the eye in the triangle of the Freemasons above the Baphomet. Christopher admits in another book that both satanic cults and Christian fundamentalists are closer to seeing the truth than most normal people. Yes, indeed, how true that is. In Coming World Changes, Harriet and Homer Curtis speak of a prophecy they received from a mysterious spirit titled King of the World. Now, I wonder who that could be. Think not that any country in this broad world can escape. And they also speak of the long-expected great teacher, the king of the new one-world government. The victors will remain as the seed of the new race to people the new land, for the new sixth great race. This is the race that Luciferian Lady Gaga referred to. All part of the plan. In Threshold to Tomorrow, New Age author Ruth Montgomery writes on page 206 that only those open to the reality of one world will be around to enjoy it. Sounds like another vague suggestion for mass murder. Vera Elder Stanley's book title implies much the same thing. Initiation of the world. That's right, it's coming. You think Vera hasn't been initiated into the secret one-eyed religion? What else has she authored? How about the finding of the third eye, the all-seeing eye? New Age author John Randolph Price writes in The Planetary Commission, in question and answer form, how do you define the Antichrist? The answer is pretty amazing. Any individual or group who denies the divinity of man as exemplified by Jesus Christ, the higher self of each individual, which Jesus Christ never exemplified because he is God. If you deny that mere men and women are divine gods, you are unfit for the glorious New Age kingdom. And you are the definition of Antichrist. In Practical Spirituality, he prepares his readers for a population drop of 2.5 billion people before the New Age era can begin. On page 32 of New Age author Barbara Marx Hubbard's book, Happy Birthday Planet Earth, she states that people will either change or die. That's the choice, she says. Notice the New Age has a new gospel, yet all the while, the world will be neglected of the information in the real Gospels, where it warns and predicts. For if someone comes and preaches another Jesus, not the Jesus whom we preached, or another gospel, you are most beautifully tolerant of them. In the Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch, the writer has a quote-unquote direct experience with two spirits, Enoch and Metatron, and they share with the writer spiritually scientific teachings regarding the new system of things soon to be fully manifest. The reason this work is considered extra special amongst its readers is because it was the first book to point out the alignment between the Great Pyramid and the constellation of Orion. The first book ever. That's basically proof that these spirits, Enoch and Metatron, are the real deal. Not only that, it was also the first book to show the direct relationship between DNA coding and the divine name. That's pretty serious, and the atheists should be really waking up by now, because this is the world's most powerful and secret religion we're talking about, nothing less. The writer was told that those who govern the earth are those who have fallen from the heavens. He calls them the masters, and even states that they were punished with penalties that were assigned to each. These are the fallen angels of the Bible, people. These are the masters of the Masonic New Age, as proven here in one of the illustrations from the book. Same symbology. This worldwide catastrophe that is coming will bring about a complete reorganization of Earth's life system. And like all high-grade initiates of the secret societies, every attempt is made to bring positivity to the number of the Vicar of Lucifer. I was given instruction to use the specific light harmonics 666, 999, and 12, 12, 12. The spirits further inform the writer of the Keys of Enoch that the pattern 666 is used to identify you with respect to the Earth's vibration. The number of the beast of the Book of Revelation of Jesus Christ is not only being glorified, it's manifesting in the world. And from another illustration from the book, Once again, the same image we see being used over and over with the eye on top of the pyramid. This is the secret religion that encompasses us and has been influencing us for decades upon decades, 2 to 3 centuries, in fact. Just like the Gospels explain, this is an absolute counterfeit of the truth. Christ is mentioned everywhere, but not Jesus Christ. No, this is the Antichrist spirit, who will eventually manifest and appear to the world as one man. Doesn't sound so mythical anymore when you see that the enemies of Jesus Christ and those behind the New World System, they use biblical terms. And Christ, to depict the antithesis, the anti of the real Christ, their Savior. And these spirits from the world we can't see are the ones who taught mankind the sick art of witchcraft. Look at who supplies this book online, sacredmagic.com. You know what magic really is and what it really entails now. So once again, you can see the connection, the relationship. If you still think that this phrase, New World Order, is a conspiracy theory, you're suffering from a medical condition. On the Lucius Trust website, the consultants to the European Union, you find the statement that the New World servers are occupied with the task of inaugurating the New World Order. In the same article, this shocking admission is made. 2/3 of humanity will stand upon the path at the close of this age, and with that, 1/3 will die, or to put it surreptitiously, will be held over for later unfoldment. That's the Lucius Trust. The word Lucius being the replacement for the word Lucifer, who works hand in hand with the EU, the European Union, stating that 2.5 billion human beings are planned to be killed off. All predicted by Jesus, and only Jesus. And if you still think I'm joking or misleading you about what these people are and what they plan to do, here's a book written by the founder of the Lucius Trust, the Freemason Alice Bailey, Education in the New Age, where she, educates you about mass population reduction. When a form proves inadequate or too diseased or too crippled for the expression of that purpose, it is, from the point of view of the hierarchy, no disaster when that form has to go. Death is not a disaster to be feared. The work of the destroyer is not really cruel or undesirable. Do you see? Did you hear that? Through the all-seeing eye of Lucifer, the destroyer, for the purpose of the new world, death and mass murder isn't evil, it's good. And Alice Bailey in The Labours of Hercules also tries to re-educate us and protect that God-forsaken number, predicted in the Gospels to be associated with evil. The number of the physical plane activity is called the number of the beast. This idea seems to have a horrible fascination with many, but what it really means is that Virgo is the symbol of triplicity, 6 on the physical plane, 6 on the emotional plane, and 6 on the mental plane. Not 666 at all. And one more time, from the consultants to the European Union, from their website Lucius Trust, to prove to you that these people are all working toward and waiting for the world leader. The coming of the Avatar and the advent of the coming one are the keynotes of the prevalent expectancy. After everything I've shown you, are you going to ignore this? Or worse, are you going to trust these people, of whom were predicted to this very condemnation 2,000 years ago? Right down to a one-world system, depopulation, and to the man who will carry the number 666, and with it, implement a new system in which you won't be able to buy or sell unless you receive a mark in your hand or forehead. And what's just been announced by Business Insider? Cashless society. Due to this, by 2024. This is the manufactured trend for the world. And you better believe it's fulfilling biblical prophecy. You know that book that's been ripped out of schools and hysterically discredited? Why do you think there's a single eye displayed on all the covers of George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984? It's because the one-eye religion is the one in permanent control, where democracy and Christianity have been utterly extinguished, and the remaining population live in a whole new level of permanent communism. It is well known that George Orwell himself had ties with the Fabian Society, which is a secret society complete with degrees of initiation. Tucked away neatly somewhere under the wing of Freemasonry, the Fabian Society's logo used to be this: a wolf in sheep's clothing, which is exactly what Freemasonry is. And it was a metaphor for gradually advancing socialism. And socialism is communism for slow learners. This level of denial on our part has been brought on by mass propaganda, because everything has been weaponized to work against you and God's truth. Education, entertainment, and economics. You're a slave to each one. And Freemasonry is the slave master. Listen to the Grand Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry tell you about it in Morals and Dogma. The blind force of the people is a force that must be economized and also managed as the blind force of steam. You are just blind energy to them, made to be enslaved. This force must have a brain. Who do you think the brain is? Freemasonry is the brain, obviously. And he's saying that we're just the body parts that move to its will. Look, these are some pictures I took of the local obelisk in my town. An erect phallus hidden in plain sight. See how the cube at the bottom is rough? In Freemasonry, it's called the rough ashlar stone. Well, watch this from Morals and Dogma. The rough ashlar is the people, rude and unorganized. Once again, you can see what this secret society secretly thinks of you. Now see how the stone built on top is smooth? That's called the perfect ashlar. The perfect ashlar is the state, the rulers. Yeah, the one-eye sex cult of Freemasonry, which hides its master, Satanism. Now, where is this brain taking us? Remember, this guy is the general who fought against the United States forces to uphold the institution of slavery. And the Grand Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry, who calls you the vulgar herd and the ignorant multitude, and admits that, yes, unbelievably so, Lucifer is the light bearer. This is the highest authority in Freemasonry, the secret religion of all our leaders and idols. Believe it. Now listen to this. The papacy and rival monarchies, all that will become the heritage of the temple, meaning the temple of Freemasonry. The world will soon come to us for its sovereigns and pontiffs. We shall constitute the equilibrium of the universe and be rulers over the masters of the world. They're gonna own it all. And it's true, the papacy and the monarchy have fallen into their hands. All Freemasons now. This is a 150-year-old book, so you can see how far ahead they plan, while we stay ignorant. How do you suppose that they won't achieve the New World Order? The New World Order of death. Of combined and systematic movement and effort, the great revolution prepared for by the ages will begin to march. The future is all planned for by them, and the revolution prepared for by the ages is coming, and it'll look like a natural occurring event, just as current events seem natural. Lastly, from his other book, Legenda, and reading from the ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry, Albert writes, and thus the warfare against the powers of evil, meaning Christianity, that crushed the order of the temple in the 1300s, goes steadily on, and freedom marches ever onward toward the conquest of the world. The conquest of the world, guys. And this is their method. Ingenious as it is, the double-headed eagle, the left and right paradigm. Whether you are pro-abortion or life, prefer Macca's or KFC, Ford or Holden, vote Liberal or Labour, shop at Coles or Woolies, go for the Parramatta Eels or the Canterbury Bulldogs, always the two most opposing forces, the result always feeds the one belly. The two heads always serve the same Masonic beast. Do you get it? That's number one. Number two is the horribly magnificent motto of their double-headed eagle, Ordo ab Chaos. That means order out of chaos. It's the ultimate way to achieve your sinister goals while looking like a hero. With one hand, they create beautiful and noble things. With the other hand, the hidden hand, they destroy and pervert. Then the helping hand comes back in to save or fix things again, alternating from one to the other, while nudging toward a predetermined goal until finally reaching that goal that's set in mind in the first place. All the while, you never knew that the same hand that's saving you is the same hand that was destroying you in the first place. Order out of chaos. Their order out of their chaos. Another way to look at it is this. Z creates or exploits a problem, then attributes blame to others. Y reacts by asking Z for protection and help to solve the problem. Z offers the solution that was planned for by them long before the crisis occurred. Ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. Now you can change Z and Y to suit any scenario. For example, your best friend who wants to sleep with you creates or exploits a problem, then attributes blame to others. You react by asking your best friend who wants to sleep with you for protection and help to solve the problem. Your best friend who wants to sleep with you offers the solution that was planned by them long before the crisis occurred. Each time your best friend gets closer and closer to you until eventually they're in your bed. How about your employee creates or exploits a problem, then attributes blame to others? The employer reacts by asking the employee for help to solve the problem. The employee offers the solution that was planned by them long before the crisis occurred. The employee eventually gets the promotion. But this is the way I really want to put it. The government creates or exploits a problem, then attributes blame to others. The population reacts by asking the government for protection and help to solve the problem. The government offers the solution that was planned by them long before the crisis even occurred. This is how the Great Revolution, prepared for by the ages by the Freemasons, will begin. So who's going to warn you? Even modern Christianity is steered by Freemasonry. Hillsong won't warn the sheep about Freemasonry and the one world government. What, the Hillsong senior pastor who wrote these books and lives here? No chance. Did modern day Christian heroes like Billy Graham warn you about Freemasonry? Well, no, because here he is giving the Master Mason grip to other Christian giants like Paul and Jan Crouch.
dreamt about how things were. And I woke up here.
What was David's hidden message inside the gray state? And could it be the reason for his death? Perhaps the scariest part of Grey State's conceptual trailer is this character here, who appears to be operating a guillotine. David Crowley was very intentional in this frame of the movie. He added something that I believe he wanted the people to know about. Who is the identity of this executioner? If you look closely, you will see that this terrifying character is wearing something around his waist. It appears to look like an apron. The executioner wears a Freemason apron, complete with the all-seeing eye, the compass, and the two pillars. I do believe David Crowley is trying to tell us something. He is telling us that the organization behind the French and American revolutions, the organization behind the Italian Revolution of 1830, the organization that outlined a plan to overtake the Vatican in a document called the Alta Vendita, the organization behind the Trail of Tears and the deaths of thousands of Native Americans under Freemason Grand Master Andrew Jackson, the organization behind the Ku Klux Klan in the United States post-Civil War and its rebirth in 1915, the organization behind Hiroshima and Nagasaki during 33rd degree Freemason Harry Truman's presidency. These are men with a radical revolutionary agenda throughout the entire world because they worship and follow a radical revolutionary deity, the first to have led a revolt against the Most High Lord.
When I was in high school, coming from a completely non-Christian and non-religious family or background, I distinctly remember the first time that I decided that the Bible or the New Testament, to be more precise, was definitely not true. Made up, fairy tale, whatever. It was one verse, one scripture that to me at the time proved unequivocally that it wasn't written for our time. A prophecy that was impossible to be fulfilled. Here's the verse. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and authority to administer justice was given them. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded, because of the testimony they bore of Jesus, and because of the word of God. No way could guillotines be introduced as a form of execution in the 21st century, right? No way. Proof that the Bible was a prehistoric book written for prehistoric people. And this is long before he woke me up on a midnight highway to spare my life from a high-speed collision into a concrete wall. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2021, like the smartphone or the smartwatch, this is called the Smart Guillotine. Built by Chanel. You know, the perfume and clothing and accessories brand for the rich. What on earth does a perfume company have to do with chopping people's heads off? Well, I thought I told you that all of this is just the tip of the iceberg. I wonder who really owns Chanel. Well, here's their logo, and there is an eye in the design. And have you seen their drip design? How odd. Welcome to the real world. You ready? This is from a legislation archive from the Georgia House of Representatives in the 1995-96 sessions. This is Bill HB 1274 on the death penalty, guillotine provisions. How far along are we into enacting these bills worldwide? I don't know. Maybe they've been enacted already. But I just wanted to show you that in 1995 the ball was already rolling. Another ball that's rolling are the 7 universal Noahide laws. They sound great from the outside, designed so to conceal some terrifying details on the inside. Firstly, they were signed into US law in 1991 by George H.W. Bush on March 26. Here's the bill and resolution. It was named Education Day. As you can see in the details of Resolution HJ 104, they are the 7 Noahide laws, resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in 1996. Every single president since H.W. Bush has annually re-signed this resolution. many world leaders have called for the acknowledgement and observance of the 7 Noahide laws, including the President of the European Union in July 2014 and the Australian Governor-General Michael Jeffrey in 2008. And this will be international law. So what's the problem? Well, just for starters, the law against idol worship will include, quite specifically, the worship of Jesus Christ as the Son of God, which the Noahide laws will classify as blasphemy, and the punishment for transgressing the 7 Noahide laws and for blaspheming the ineffable name of God by calling Jesus God is decapitation. I'll let you take that in for a second. This will be governed by a world court with no possibility of appeals. Something like this, an international Sanhedrin. Who do you think is truly behind these laws? Well, I can show you that right now. Here is the bill being signed into law by H.W. Bush, and here is their signature hidden in plain sight, the hidden hand of Freemasonry, displayed by this sinister and gloating looking individual. And you know what Freemasonry is a cover for now. Who do you think designed the guillotine in the first place? This guy, Joseph Guillotine, a Freemason. Still don't believe in the prophecies of Jesus Christ? You're still in denial?
Last night I dreamt about how things were. And I woke up here.
Well, that's why the director was murdered. And his wife, daughter, and dog. I think of them often, and sometimes when I need spiritual sobering up, I think of that fateful and evil night where that beautiful Christian family were brutally eliminated. If you think he wasn't onto something, well, he paid the greatest price to share this with you. Prophecy will be fulfilled. Listen to the words that come right after the execution by guillotine scripture in the Gospels. And I saw those who were such that they did not worship the beast, nor his image, and did not receive his mark of identification upon their forehead and hand. Remember this mark in the video? I'm not saying that the director knew what the mark would be, but based on the symbology, he knew who would be behind it. Look at the triangular symbol of the Freemasons. The Masonic triangle around the eye, and the Brotherhood of Saturn. Now look at the front cover of the book written by New Age author Maurice Nicoll. The mark. Same symbol. Identical to the symbol used by J.K. Rowling, who said its design was inspired by the Freemasons. Who has this tattoo, which represents the Baphomet. Well, Solve Coagula is the process in which they will bring this New World system to life. It's identical to the Masonic motto of order out of chaos. Solve means dissolve or destroy, and coagula means to bring the elements back together into a new and higher form, a new and higher system. Jesus described it as the beast system, and one way or another, we will be marked as a form of identification in order to participate. But first, chaos must ensue. A deep Masonic truth, which is mostly true anyway, is that destruction precedes construction. It's like having to destroy a tree in order to create a table. The same principle applies to creating the New Age. That's why I know that the process which involves the creation of a new system must involve the destruction of this one. Now, this is the last referenced work I'm going to use to show you who will be the head of that system, that one world government. A book by David Spangler, considered as one of the founding fathers of the modern New Age. He also has an intimate relationship with the United Nations, as shown in 1975 document which was uploaded to the UN archives in 2006. Please pause to confirm that, where you can find his name listed under the Board of Directors for the Planetary Citizens Group. In his book, Reflections on the Christ, David Spangler, remember, one of the founding fathers of the New Age and a member of the board of directors in a United Nations sanctioned program, repeatedly upholds and honors the entity known as Lucifer. He tells us all about what is required to step into the New Age. Well, mainly, what's required is a new understanding of the angel Lucifer. He writes that when this great project of evolution began, man went forth as consciousness to learn his divinity, and Lucifer went with him. It is important to see that Lucifer, described as an angel, a being, a great and mighty planetary consciousness. He says that, just like in Halloween and trick or treat, if the person offers a treat to Lucifer who knocks on his door, and the person says to Lucifer, "Come in, and I will give to you the treat of my love and understanding, and I will uplift you in the light and presence of the Christ," Christ meaning my outflow, then Lucifer becomes that being who carries the ultimate treat, the light of wisdom. Lucifer represents experience. Lucifer is literally the angel of experience. The Luciferic element becomes the true revealer of light, the angel of light. The light that reveals to us the path to the Christ comes from Lucifer. The Christ that he refers to obviously is the Antichrist spirit, who will eventually manifest on earth as one man. But for some odd reason on page 60 he feels compelled to clarify that he was only joking once when he said maybe to enter the New Age we all need to take a Luciferic initiation. Well, that's definitely no joke. That's right, Lucifer is the savior of the secret societies. The solar system was the manifestation of the consciousness of a very great being known as the Solar Logos. And if we go back to the secret society of the Brotherhood of Saturn, we read that mankind will be able to take a measure of egocentric power from the Solar Logos. In this way, Lucifer is the savior of humankind. Do you see who you're dealing with? These are the people above you, the rich, powerful, influential, overflowing in all areas of those who are steering society, and they're about to reach their destination. Who showed you? Who told you? Who warned you? Jesus Christ did. Oh, those pesky Christians. In the animation flushed away, the villain Toad conspires to genocide all the rats in the Silver World and replace them with a superior species, a new species. No one is aware except for this one rat who's briefly seen in the beginning. He's a Christian rat, a nut job, carrying around a plaque, as some real-life Christians used to, warning everyone of the impending doom that is upon them. What's the twist that's hidden in plain sight for no one to see? Well, the villain Toad, planning the New Age, wears the ring of a Freemason. This ring. And he wears it exactly on the finger that a Master Mason should. It is worn on the third finger of the right hand. There is one who predicted it all, and they know that. That's why he's been so thoroughly discredited, or so it seems. Yes, the nutjob Christian was right all along. Remember one last thing before I close. From Masonic New Age author Christopher Hyatt, who spoke of the well-planned for and long-awaited invocation of the Prime Minister of the world, when he wrote in his book, "A massive truth that I wish with all my being that you would grasp. Both satanic cults and Christian fundamentalists are closer to seeing the truth than most normal people. The world has always been at war, a spiritual war from the beginning. And if you don't know it, then you're losing the battle. The Gospel tells us so accurately that the enemy we wrestle against is not made of flesh and blood, but it is made of spiritual forces of evil in heavenly realms. That's where the real war is being waged, in the spirit. And now that we know what secret societies are and what they've tapped into, we can rest assured that that statement from the Gospels is true. That's why the common denominator between all of the secret societies is the anti-Christian sentiment. You need to ask yourself why. Why the negative obsession with Christianity? It's not as if Christians run the game. Freemasons have banned Bibles from schools. They teach evolution as a fact. Pornography is thriving. There are no Christian protesters left. Homosexuality is rampant and protected, and Christianity is buckled. Which church preaches against Freemasonry? Which church is telling you about Satan and his hidden church, which has permeated every vein of society? So why do they hate Jesus if they're at the top of their game? Because Jesus Christ is real. That's why. And he left us prophecy that they can't escape. See, the more they win, the more they fall into the hands of the prophecies of Jesus and his Gospels. What a blessing for you, those who would grasp this as truth. What good news for you, and what a terrifying conundrum for them. If you've come this far and you still don't care or still unwilling to trust, then you deserve what's coming as a law of nature. Because you've been warned of all of it. The one world government clearly on its way. Cashless society, inevitable. The mark that each person will receive, without which you won't be able to buy or sell or participate in this world. And the manifestation of the name, the number of the name of the one who will implement this system. 666. All of it is coming to pass. Inescapable we are from him. Everything and everyone will fall back into his hands, where he will finally separate the goats from the sheep. Now watch the Bible destroy Freemasonry like no other book in 2 minutes. Regarding their lodges and obelisks, their heart is faithless. Now they must bear their guilt. The Lord will break down their altars and destroy their sacred obelisks. And speaking of the bloodline that gave birth to Jesus, God says, "You shall not set up for yourselves a sacred pillar, which the Lord God hates." See what you're up against, Freemasonry? While Freemasonry meets and speaks in darkness and secret, Jesus said, "I have spoken openly for all the world to hear, and in secret I've said nothing." Freemasons are known as builders. Well, the stone which the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Everyone who falls on that stone will be dashed to pieces. Anyone on whom it falls will be crushed. Every Masonic lodge is built so that all the members face the east. Who are these men with their backs toward the temple, facing the east and worshipping the sun? It is detestable. Freemasonry does evil in secret with their hidden hand, but they blow a trumpet over the hand that does good. But Jesus says, when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right is doing. Your good deed must be in secret, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. You can't become a Mason if you're broke, blind, maimed, or have a criminal record. Jesus said, but when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind. Freemasonry takes pride in its secret rituals and is hungry to rule the world. The Gospels say that their destiny is destruction. They make appetite their God. They take pride in what should bring shame. Their minds are set on earthly things. Freemasonry believes that the light is but darkness visible. The Bible says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light. And Jesus further said, if therefore the light which is in you be darkness, how great a darkness that would be. Freemasons spend their whole lives taking gruesome oaths of secrecy. Jesus said, but above all things, my brethren, stop the practice of putting yourselves under oath. Freemasonry is built upon a hierarchical system, a pyramidal system. Jesus said, for everyone who exalts themselves will be humbled, and whoever humbles themselves will be exalted. We could go on and on, but we're going to end on this one. Exclusively written for the practices in the lodge room of political Freemasonry. A troublemaker and a villain who goes about with a corrupt mouth, who winks with his eye, signals with his feet, and teaches with his fingers, who plots evil with deceit in his heart. He always stirs up conflict. Therefore, the disaster will overtake him. He will suddenly be destroyed. That is Freemasonry through and through. And apart from the man in the mirror, prior to your baptism of the Holy Spirit, Freemasonry is the villain. They do go about with a corrupt mouth as they are sworn to secrecy. They do proverbially wink with the eye, making the one eye. They most certainly signal with their feet and teach with their hands and fingers. In the lodge, I can vouch. And they do plot evil, stir up conflict, in order to further their goal of the New Age and the New World Order, the greatest conflict being up ahead. But thank God Almighty above, the verse also tells us that disaster will overtake them, and they will be destroyed. One frightful and glorious day, you can count on that. Because the only thing you can count on in this world, more than death, more than taxes, is the Son of God.